Fernando Alonso is hands down one of the best drivers in Formula One. In all of the 21 seasons he competed, he outperformed the car and he got results that arguably no other driver could have got. Even at the age of 43, he still got it. He's still, outperforming his teammate in an Aston Martin. I know that his teammate is Lance Stroll, so it's not a fair comparison, but still, he's still there. He's still one of the guys who will pose a threat to the top three if he has a good car underneath him, even at this age. But as Kanye West said it, to whom much is given, much is tested. The Spaniard has also made a lot of mistakes in his Formula One career, off track mistakes, career mistakes. Let's talk about it all. Let's talk about all of the wrong career moves that Fernando has done and analyze the underlying causes behind it and then see how they have affected him, they have stopped him, they have prevented him from achieving his full potential within the sport. Let's go through this chronologically. We will first talk about leaving McLaren in 2007, then we will talk about joining Renault in 2008, and then we will talk a little bit about his Ferrari stint from 2010 to 2014, then the stupid move to McLaren, and then his comeback to Alpine, and then his another stupid move to Aston Martin. Yes, Aston Martin is also a stupid move. So let's start with 2007. He left McLaren for all the wrong reasons. You have competition against the teammate, and you want special treatment. Those are basically the reasons why Fernando left, and obviously the Spygate scandal also didn't help. But if you are a two-time world champion and you are running away from competition who is basically a rookie in his debut season and you are returning back to your old team, you look like a bitch. It looks bad from the outside. It is a psychological blow. He should have stayed in McLaren because McLaren were fast in those years. They were a strong team in those years. They were consistently challenging for pole positions, challenging for wins and championships. He should have stayed there. And who knows? He may have won another championship in 2008 instead of Lewis Hamilton. He could have done that. If he had stayed in McLaren for another year, he would have been better mentally prepared and physically prepared to deal with the pressure from Lewis and deal with the, conflicting team dynamics, go in there with a clearer head. Anyway, he wanted to leave McLaren and he basically wanted to go to Ferrari. Like that's where he wanted to go because the other team that were competitive in those years were Ferrari, and Michael Schumacher had this dominant run in Ferrari. He kind of wanted to replicate that. But a Ferrari seat was not available until 2010 because Kimi and Massa had like multi-year contracts. So he had 2 years in between, 2008 and 2009, right? 2007, he had the time in McLaren, got his ass whooped by a rookie, decided to, call it quits like a bitch because he couldn't handle the pressure from his teammate. 2008, 2009, these 2 years, he had to do something, right? Now, what do? He had two options. Number one, roll the dice with Red Bull, see what they're about. They're a new team, no pressure, take some time off, chill. Or go back to your previous team who were clearly in a downward spiral. In 2007, Renault was over 150 points behind Ferrari, who were constructor champions in that year. And 150 points is big in those seasons where there were not as many races, there were no sprint races, only the top 8 scored points, the race winner only scored like 10 points. So being 150 points behind the Constructors' Champions in 2007 is proof that Renault is on the downward spiral. Why did you go there? You could have gone to Red Bull, chill a little bit, roll the dice because your ultimate goal is Ferrari anyway. Another dumb mistake. Now, let's talk about his 5 years with Ferrari. 2011 and 2013 were like Red Bull dominance, and 2014 was Mercedes dominance, like the beginning of Mercedes dominance in the turbo hybrid era. So let's only talk about 2010 and 2012. In 2010, he lost the championship by 4 points. In 2012, he lost the championship to Sebastian Vettel by 3 points. In both of the seasons, his teammate was P6 and P7 in the driver standings, respectively. It means that the Ferrari did not have pace. The Ferrari was easily the third or even fourth fastest car on the grid. Fernando dragged that piece of shit to championship challenges in 2010 and 2012. Now, looking back to the return to Renault in 2008, if he had not gone back to Renault and rolled the dice with Red Bull, he would have realized that Red Bull have a better future. He could have won these 4 world championships instead of Sebastian Vettel, totaling 6 world titles. He could have done that. But obviously, he was blinded by his own arrogance. He was like, Red Bull is an energy drink company, and I want to go to a place where I get the princess treatment and I'm comfortable, and people sing praises of my name and I am treated like a special little guy. That's why he went back to Renault instead of rolling the dice. Your main objective was Ferrari anyway. The only reason you went back to Renault is because you had 2 free years in the middle and Ferrari seat was not available until 2010. So, could have rolled the dice with Red Bull. No, instead he waited with Renault, who was on a downward spiral, then went to Ferrari, outperformed the car massively. Phenomenal performance by Fernando Alonso in 2010 and 2012. The car did not deserve to be, runners up in the Drivers' Championship. He lost the championship by 4 points in 2010 and by 3 points in 2012. That's some serious shit. So again, he had the performance. As usual, Fernando, one of the best drivers in the grid, but a dumb fuck when it comes to making career decisions. After spending 5 years in an underperforming Ferrari and trying to win the World Championship and getting too close 2 times, he decided to move to McLaren, which again was a terrible mistake. He basically moved back to McLaren because of historical reasons. In 1998 to 1992, McLaren-Honda, Ayrton Senna, they had good partnership. They won multiple constructors and drivers titles back to back to back. He kind of wanted to replicate that success. And furthermore, he wanted that special princess treatment. However, he failed to consider that in 1988 to 1992, when McLaren Honda had this great successful partnership in those years, Honda was already in business. They were in Formula One since 1983. They came back as an engine supplier in 1983. They were with Spirit Racing. Then for 4 years, they supplied engine to Williams and won constructors title with them. However, in 2015, Honda was returning to Formula One after a 7 years break. This was their first Formula One engine, and there is no way that they're gonna get it right the first time, which is obviously true. Fernando Alonso was lucky to even fight for points in certain Grand Prix because the car's reliability was bad and also the pace was nowhere. And here is another critical thing. After the end of the 2018 season, apparently Red Bull approached Fernando again for 2019 because Daniel Ricciardo was leaving. Daniel Ricciardo did not want to compete against Max Verstappen. That's another story. Daniel Ricciardo was leaving. There was another seat available in Red Bull. They apparently, this is what Fernando Alonso claims. Red Bull people say no. Apparently, Red Bull approached Fernando again for 2019 season. I think he should have said yes this time. Because, okay, in 2019, 2020, Red Bull had some reliability issues because they were running the Renault-powered units. But in 2021, they were going back to Honda, and Honda was definitely improving because in 2021, I think Honda had they were already in Formula One for 7 years. I think they have learned their mistakes. They have improved the engines multiple times, in multiple iterations, I think. And he could have been competitive, but this dumb motherfucker said no. I don't know if this claim is real by Fernando. I don't know if Red Bull actually reached out to Fernando, but he says it and Red Bull say no. If it was true, he should have taken it, but instead he decides to take 2 years of break, which is understandable because he was tired of driving a shit box for so many years, the pressure of competing in Formula One, The stress obviously gets to him. After he returns to Formula One in 2021, he goes to Alpine again because there is an air of familiarity. He wants that princess treatment. He wants to be treated as the number one driver. In 2021, he goes to Alpine, had a decent year. He had that amazing defensive performance in the Hungarian Grand Prix, which allowed Esteban Ocon to win that race. However, next year, things went to shit because Esteban Ocon showed his true colors and he was defending aggressively against Fernando. I think it was in Qatar, it was in Hungary, it was also, I think, in Brazil in the 2022 F1 season where Esteban Ocon was defending as his life depends on it against Fernando. So, started off well, the partnership with Alpine ended poorly because of Esteban Ocon and also the shit performance of the Renault engine in a Renault car. It is what it is. His final career move so far is to Aston Martin. And again, this was another terrible move. The philosophy of Aston Martin is to copy the race winning teams to try and build a championship winning car and then compete for championships. That's their core philosophy, just to mimic the winning teams and try to win championships. It's not gonna work. This philosophy is not gonna work when you're at the pinnacle of Formula One. Let me give you an example. If you look at the data of the 2023 season, Fernando's first year with Aston Martin, in which they were basically, running the Mercedes engine, and they have copied the sidepod design from Red Bull, and also the sidepod inlet design from Ferrari, copycat car basically. They were like the first one third of the season, they had great results. Like Fernando Alonso scored, I think, 99 points, and his average finishing position was, around like P3. He got a lot of podiums in the first one third of the season. In the second one third of the season, he only scored 69 points, nice, and his average finishing position dropped to P5. In the final one third of the season, their performance dropped even further, scoring only 36 points with an average finishing position of P8. The reason why the performance of the Aston Martin dropped in each one third of the season subsequently throughout the season is because they just copy someone's car, and because they lack the knowledge behind it, they fail to improve upon it throughout the year. You cannot copy someone's car and expect to win championships at the pinnacle of motorsport. You need to make your own mistakes. You need to have your own knowledge, your own research, and your own data. Because when things work, all right, it's fine. But when things don't work, you are basically fucked because you don't know what is the design philosophy, what are the principles that built the car that way. You are just working with someone else's design that you just copied by looking at the exterior, and you're like, you know what? It's going to perform. It's not. Formula One cars are extremely complex machines, and copying it is not going to work. And right now, a lot of people are speculating that Adrian Newey will change things, the exclusive Honda engine partnership will change things. I doubt it. I 100% doubt it because, again, this is also a copycat move. Because Lawrence Stroll earlier, they looked at Mercedes and they were like, you know what? Mercedes has a championship winning car. Let's get Mercedes engine and let's copy Mercedes. In the RP20, when they were known as Racing Point in 2020, they copied the Mercedes, frame by frame. It was known as the pink Mercedes, right? That was their philosophy back then. In for 2026 season, Lawrence Stroll was again thinking in like copycat move. What do current champions have? They have Adrian Newey, who is the best in car design, and they also have like Honda engines. Let's go and get these two. So he went in, and this is a copycat move, getting Adrian Newey and signing that exclusive Honda engine deal. Again, it's a copycat move. They're thinking that they can replicate Red Bull's success by having Adrian Newey and having that exclusive deal with Honda, which I don't think Is that realistic? Maybe Adrian Newey will have his own new philosophy and he will bring new things to the table. Obviously, he's one of the most talented engineers in Formula One. But again, it's a copycat move, bro. And even if Adrian Newey is that good, I doubt in 2026, like the first season he is designing an Aston Martin car, the year of regulation change, I doubt he will, show up on the block with the best car. Maybe it will take a few more years to, build a better, like, world championship winning car. And by that time, Fernando will be like 45 years of age. I don't know how long he's going to stay in the sport. Lance Stroll is Lance Stroll. So we will see. We will see who actually gets to win in an Adrian Newey designed Aston Martin in Formula One. New teams are also joining the grid. Anything could happen. Anyway, I got a little bit distracted there towards the end. We are talking about Fernando Alonso's terrible career moves. Yeah, like from leaving McLaren in 2007 to not rolling the dice with Red Bull in 2008 and instead returning to Renault because it was comfortable. And then obviously, he already had that deal with Ferrari since like 2008, 2009. He already, had that discussion with Ferrari. So he went to Ferrari. Car was not competitive at all. He managed to drag it to P2 in the driver standings in 2010 and 2012. But after that, going to McLaren by looking at the historical partnership of McLaren-Honda, that's a dog shit move. Then, he didn't again capitalize on the Red Bull opportunity, instead takes a 2-year break, comes back with Alpine, probably because, Alpine is, it used to be Renault and there's an air of familiarity. Probably also he didn't have any other option. And then he went to the copycats, the Aston Martin team. And these motherfuckers are not going to win because that's not how you win in the pinnacle of Formula One, like in the pinnacle of motorsport. So Fernando Alonso is a beast in a Formula One car, but he sucks at simulating where teams will be in the future. I don't think Adrian Newey is going to save Aston Martin, at least not in 2026. And 2025 is going to be another struggling season for Fernando. 2026, we will see. Thank you for watching, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.